Thank you, Joe. Right, writer Emma Wolfe and journalist James Bloodworth back for a final look through this morning's papers. Emma, I want to start with this. Honestly, the Mirror story. There are no banks anymore. They've all gone.
There are no banks. We're having these banking deserts. There's going to be around 3 million people left without banks. Branches closing on our high street, so you have these basically boarded up banks, nowhere to get, access to cash machines even, nowhere to get in-person banking. For older people that like to go in to actually have... I think this is really sad, but I think this further kind of increases the digital divide, the fact that there are people who are not online, who need help with something, who need help with documents or, just want to go in and talk to someone. Mostly older people, mostly more vulnerable people. Can't go in, don't have a local bank.
And then it can be staggering if you do go into your local bank branch to see the number of people who are there, how complicated some of their issues are, and the queue going back, and you think, this is really tricky. These people desperately need help, often,
it's that contact
to access
with the
just
branch,
their cash.
isn't it?
Yeah,
just
exactly.
For the older, for the vulnerable, who aren't online, who can't ring and wait 6 hours. I think honestly, but it's quite a hub for
a lot of people pay their bills by going in, with their cheque or with their pension money or whatever it is, and they, as you say, a bit of social. It's a sort of breakdown of the fabric of society when you don't have post offices open, you don't have banks.
No consideration for some of their longest customers as well. It's
Exactly.
older people. I mean, to its credit, Nationwide has promised it's not closing any branches because you do have a lot of banks closing at the moment. It's not in this piece, but I've seen Nationwide has been campaigning that it's not closing its branches, which I think is a very, very good move because it does show loyalty to some of their longest customers.
Nearly 6,000 banks have closed since 2015. Yeah.
frightening.
Should we move inside The Guardian, James? 22% of children are obese by the end of primary school.
Yeah, there's been a huge rise in number of obese children, particularly obese boys. It's partly, I mean, this article is saying it's partly to do with the pandemic and lockdown, more screen time, diets, poor diets, and obviously insufficient exercise because people are stuck in the house. But it does predate the pandemic. It's our lifestyles and the lifestyles of children are becoming much more sedentary. There's a more culture of safetyism now where parents tend to drive their children places instead of having the children walk, and diets, more fast food, and screen time in particular, spending more time on phones. And this article is saying it's a ticking time bomb. It's bad for the children, but it's also they'll grow up and they're much more likely to have diabetes and things like that.
It's just so clearly not their fault, these children.
Exactly.
You're going to hate what I'm going to say. I do believe we live in a society where we always blame the government, right? There's a lot of lazy parents, and I don't care whether this is unpopular or not. Absolutely diets, absolutely exercise, absolutely fast food, absolutely screen time. But it has cost nothing to take your kids to the park. It's as cheap to cook a vegetable pasta meal as it is to buy a takeaway whilst you've got your Sky dish and you're smoking your fags. I do think we have to make that point, Emma.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
are plenty of people in this country on low income who prioritise their kids' diet and their health and their exercise, and it's easy to go, oh, it's the government. I'm not saying that it's not hard, but you know what? If you have kids, your priority should be that they are... I think it's an absolute
It's
disgrace.
the worst. It's an appalling legacy for a young child to grow up. You become an obese adult. If you're an obese child, it's very, very difficult to lose weight. I think it's as abusive as starving a child, which we would not allow. And it doesn't matter who we blame. We can talk about the obesogenic society that we live in. Look at America 20 years ago. We used to go to America and say, look at the size of people, and that has now become a reality here. But the fact is, it's odd. When you look back, I don't know if you look back at your pictures of your school days, Jeremy, but kids weren't fat. Like, there would be one fat child in the school.
Oh, you can't say that.
You can't say that. No, you can't even use the word fat.
But they'll go, it's the government's fault, there's no money. I'm not decrying that there are people on low incomes, but I will never, ever get over a show I did many years ago, a documentary, and I walked into this house in Leicester. I'm not even going to lie. There were two kids, one 3 and one 2, strapped into their car seats in front of the television with McDonald's, and the parents were 10 feet away smoking fags at 10:30 in the morning, eating hamburgers. Sorry. In my world, right, they'd have been out in the garden. You cooked them some vegetables. I can't have it.
No, it's absolutely appalling for children. And, children who are overweight and obese are not able to take part, to play sport, to feel confident and happy. People wearing... I spoke to a young lad who was wearing a T-shirt in the swimming pool. We were on holiday. And he said, I'm just so big, I don't want everyone to see. And that's horrible for a child who should just be out and playing and enjoying themselves in in the pool. So, you know, I do think that it needs addressing.
With parents, what I don't understand is one of the things here comes up, you know, children...
Because you're not a parent.
Children are using the phone all the time. I mean, yeah, maybe it is because I'm not a parent, but why not just not let the child use the phone? Like, I used to get sent to my room or something. My parents used to kind of dictate what I could do.
I don't think any...
I think we all, though, if we're giving James some credence, we all, as parents, go, just have the iPad. But it's
no way, I don't.
But it's
absolutely
about... But Emma,
not.
it's about balance, isn't
of course
it? My
it's about
kids
balance
always go out every afternoon, whether he goes on his scooter or he goes for a walk.
No, I'm hardcore about phones and screens, and we don't have television, but I agree with you. Everybody was allowed a bit of cartoon on a Saturday morning or whatever. Same thing with an iPad or with a tablet or with a phone. If you want your children to have them, you've got to be in control. When the parent is not in control or disciplining their child or setting the boundaries, then, of course, the child will overeat, overwatch,
Vic,
you know,
you're the
not go out.
softest parent in the world. What are you talking about?
Should we talk... There's actually an interesting story about our diets and the origins of them. Emma, in The Sun, yabba dabba do you vegan?
Yeah, well, this is... Well, we used to think that hunter-gatherers, that we were all running around, cavemen were all just running around with big spears eating meat. And actually, more analysis has come out from a professor. You'll like this. He's called Dr. Randy Hass. Anyway...
It's always with you two that we end up talking about vegan diets.
I know, because then he can have a go at me for being veggie.
Well, this time last week, of course, we tried a Greg's vegan sausage roll, and Jeremy actually really liked it.
He liked it, and he wasn't even sure which was the meat, which was the vegan.
So he wasn't hunting meat
He's done analysis, and basically they found from teeth and bones and all sorts, they found that actually cavemen were eating about 80% plant diet. So they were eating carrots, parsnips, grains, nuts...
Tofu.
And,
tofu.
And about... on the menu. And only about 20% meat in our diets.
James, help me out.
I mean,
meat eater, come on.
It feels like, I'm a meat eater. It feels like this is kind of an overcorrection, though, because this idea that prehistoric man just ate meat seemed a bit far-fetched and absurd. It was kind of promoted by these online, bodybuilders and bro scientists and stuff, and it wasn't really credible. Whereas it's much easier to eat some vegetable than go and kill a... I know,
and I can't obviously sit here. I just believe in balance.
Of course, but it's interesting that actually people... Well, I mean, you don't believe in balance.
Why are you laughing?
Just
a balanced diet, meat and vegetables.
Diet, I think some things you're more balanced on than others.
I agree with you.
Shall we talk another food and drink story?
What's going on?
Francis James says, booze is a gift from God.
Yeah, so worshippers were last night rejoicing because Pope Francis declared alcohol a gift from God. So he said, wine is handed to us from the Almighty, so we should enjoy it.
Rejoice. So says the headline. Alcohol lovers rejoice.
But use responsibly.
Yeah, very responsibly. Jeremy tried to give up alcohol this year.
How long did that last?
10 days.
Was it 10 days?
really quickly. Can we just show the picture?
You're getting told off.
I know, but Claudia Schiffer on the red carpet in 15 seconds. Put her cat in a bag.
So she was at the premiere of her husband's film in Leicester Square, and she brought her cat in a little bag. And apparently, but the cat's called Chip. He stars in the film, so fair enough. That's why he was actually at the premiere. And he is a Scottish fold. I've never heard of that. It's a brand of cat.
Emma, James, legendary. You'll be back next week. I won't. Still to come on Talk.